I am tired as frick. But here I am doing Snowbound Blood. This we have occeus and this person with a cool looking symbol. Hermit. That sounds vaguely threatening. Wonder if it is threatening. Very well, could be. Oh well. I see Orca's thing here. Personal horoscopes as well. The front is getting more decorated, I guess, but I think things disappear as I go on. I don't know. It's cool though. Anyway, Volume 5 of Blood and Comfort. Here we go. It's been a few days since your last and very unpleasant shift of field duty. The discovery that you were being tailed, along with your sudden explosion-related disappearance from the corporate comms grid, sent everyone into a tizzy, Sestro and Hamifi especially in their respective ways. And so you spent the last few days on enforced rest. You spent your hours researching, following up with contacts, and consumed with thought. After a near-death scrape or two and several hours of interviews, you're really only a single step closer to answering the question that sits like ice in your gut. Who has the resources and nerve to execute a theft of this magnitude, get away with it, and put a tail on the planet's top regulator, all while finding the time to engage in online harassment? One thing's for sure, you're going stir crazy here. This sparse respite block won't hold you for long. Occeus? Oh my. Anime. And, Mashiri. Oh, she looks disappointed in us. Kinda like a cat. I did see Mashiri in the newest, in Vast Air episode 12, so, I do kind of have a voice for them, and of course I have a voice for Occeus, although I might have forgotten it. It's been so long since I've seen them in Vast Air. Let's try this. Oh boy. Knowledge may be a burden, but ignorance always comes at the cost of character. And I tire of being ignorant, Cecily. Is that the same sprite? No, wait, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I'm just curious. Please hold. Aha! No, that is a different sprite. Huh. Can't tell if it's the same artist or what. Oh no. Well, that's something the two of you have in common. You don't voice that thought, of course. The last thing you need right now is to further prod the irritable, impatient bird of prey that's standing in front of you. There's nothing stopping you from indulging in a spot of snappy commentary in the privacy of your mind, however, which is what you're doing at present. It helps with the stress. Somewhat. You've been summoned back to a certain conference room by a certain superior in order to discuss a certain case. With all the certainty going around, you'd have hoped said case would be going far more smoothly. The scene before you is all too familiar. Just being here strikes you with a sense of deja vu, down to the underlying tension permeating the atmosphere. If anything, said tension is even more pronounced than it was before. An expected development, really, considering the pragmatic, methodical dispositions of the individuals involved. It's hard not to let the lack of concrete results get under one's skin when one is either Cecilia Iopara or Hamifi Hekrix. You take a deep breath, letting it out in a short huff. I understand your frustration, Miss Heckrix. This investigation has been progressing slower than I'd like it to as well. I can say with certainty, however, that I'm starting to see a larger pattern forming. Furthermore, I have eliminated several potential suspects thus far, and there are still many leads to follow. And if the elaborate indirect attempts on my life and newly established surveillance in the form of a less than discreet girl are anything to go by, I'd say this points to my being on the right track. Amifi narrows her eyes, the tapping of her pen on the clipboard is a metronome of sorts, a steady auditory accompaniment, accompaniment, you narrow in on as she considers your words. You use this lull in conversation to take in her appearance more carefully, and now that you think about it, this change from her regular business casual look is rather conspicuous. I actually forgot which route I chose, in all honesty. I'm sorry. These silks and linens are way too elaborate for your usual meetings. You can't really tell from this angle, but you're sure the back of her new hairdo is as striking as the front. She's always had a good eye for aesthetics. You'd like to think you taught her a thing or two about it. Knowing Hamifi, though, she wouldn't be particularly receptive to this idea. In fact, she would probably have you publicly retract a statement like that and submit a written apology in triplicate, signed and stamped. She might also fine you or mark you down for insubordination. Kinda depends on the day, really. Anyway, there is a little detail that definitely does not escape your notice. It seems Hamifi has also chosen to integrate quite the colorful bruise into our newest ensemble. Oh no. It's sitting right at the junction between her neck and collarbone, almost deliberately peeking out from under her dress. A loud and clear statement, to be sure. You can only imagine how Sester was marked in turn. Ah, young love, good for them. She stops her tapping and clicks her pen with a sense of finality. I've decided your next suspect for you. You had a feeling this was where this conversation was going. Only on rare occasions is Hamifi this hands-on with her micromanaging of corporate assets, but you've known her for quite some time. Still, a small, practically negligible part of you wishes that Hamifi would at least ask how you're doing before telling you what you're doing, just once. I already have a list of suspects, all personally handpicked by the two of you. Should I not be sticking to it? We both know that has not stopped you from defying orders on at least 3 occasions thus far. This also happens to be the 3rd time she's brought these transgressions up in this conversation alone. You have to fight the urge to bristle at the comments. The reprimanding superior routine is starting to wear on you. Mother and father above, you really wish every single detail didn't always come back to this girl. Talking to her sometimes feels like swallowing knives. You bite back to a grimace and silently wait for her to continue. This choice is admittedly somewhat personal in nature, but we received a tip from one of our insiders, and given my previous suspicions, I was inclined to look into it immediately. Consider it a special request on my behalf for all the precious time you wasted following that unhinged, voice-changing criminal. Doesn't every request you follow qualify as being on her behalf by default? This is like saying squares categorically differ from rectangles. Pointless semantics. Ah, frick. Very well. Who is it that I'm to investigate next, Miss Heckrix? Occeus Coliad, spearhead of our modest number of outsourced researchers. Oh boy. And his field is? Hamifi glances aside for a brief moment. You can practically hear her clench her teeth behind pursed lips. Hematology. Oh, I thought that area of study was largely obsolete nowadays. Your assignment evidently doesn't match his. Her voice drops low, bitter. You don't really understand where this animosity is coming from? His results are unprecedented. This world hasn't seen anything like it before. And this is a bad thing? It's an abhorrently suspicious thing. So is her son's change in attitude. Is there anything else that drew your attention to him besides the subject of his research? The man is a workaholic to an extreme degree. There's no record of him engaging in recreational activities or using his various granted credits for anything besides bare necessities. Everything he accrues ends up being funneled back into his research, with the exception of high refurbishment and expansion. He is also notably cagey about technical descriptions during his check-ins, preferring physical demonstration. His exact methods remain unclear. She narrows her eyes, looking particularly disgruntled. Hard to reason with is an understatement. You'll grant it to her, the reclusive attitude and frugality would raise a few eyebrows. She seems to be taking it almost personally, though, which still strikes you as odd. What else can you tell me about him? His specific study is built around the extension of life and revitalization. He has constantly and consistently impressed on that front, especially among my jade-blooded kin. Oh, you're seeing where this is going. He's impeding on territory that Hamifi would rather leave untouched. Jade-blood from a rather unique Reptonian subculture in your experience. Jade-bloods form a rather unique Reptonian subculture in your experience. Unusual, especially in the current day and age, where a fairly homogeneous planet-wide cultural lifestyle is shared across the mass. Only rivaled by the remaining sea dwellers in terms of scarcity, jades are special in their cultivated ties to one another, bound together by shared knowledge in a manner that borders on the familial. Ordinarily, this concept is only tossed around in relation to the mythical, or, if you're especially lucky in having to stumble upon it, the inherited. It's a personal thing what these particular ties mean to each individual. Still, it's something that your species as a whole is aware of. You suppose you can see where she's coming from. The facilitation of life and its myriad intricacies have been passed down for countless generations among her caste. At this point, the knowledge of reduplication has been instilled into them, almost as a birthright, as their purpose. The Mifi doesn't want that taken away from her, even potentially. You have an instinctual urge to prod. Maybe digging a little deeper into this would be prudent. You feel it may be clouding her judgment. You decide against it. The last thing you need right now is to further try her patience and her question your intentions, but you do still the idea way for later. That, and you can't say Koliad's area of research doesn't bring the stolen vial to mind. The connections to revitalization alone make this doctor a prime suspect. There's reason for suspicion here, even if under unfair pretenses. Hamifi clears her throat. Well, are you just going to stand there and ponder, or shall I invite you to act? Always so impatient, this one. There's a lot to consider going into this. Consider it while you move. We've updated your files with his location. You're going to want to leave quickly. You're about to do just that, but you catch something in her expression. It feels like she still has more she wants to say. The longer you stand in the same place, the more likely the parasites are to bite you. You hold your gaze, waiting for you. She holds your gaze, waiting for you to comment. You raise an eyebrow. Was that a joke? I'm trying my hardest to keep my good mood. You scoff, taking the banner for what it is, an unspoken peace offering between the two of you. Give the air my regards, and have a pleasant time on your outing. Her gaze briefly flits downward, towards her clipboard, and you catch the barest ghost of a smile on her lips. Noted. With a quick flash of color, frick. You're left alone in the room, and in another, you leave it empty. Here we go. Oh, Oh no. I like that thing there, it looks cute. Uh, the plains of sand before you are a desolate, dismal sight. Colossal bones of long dead creatures litter the landscape, the only point of interest against the cracked, jagged edges that make up the scenery. That and a lonely hive that stands a few expanses away. Can't see the hive from here. See the moons, though. They look nice. The air is cold here. A dreary fog permeates the area, curling around everything it touches, almost as if it's alive. Wispy, ghostly tendrils circling what little fauna managed to survive in this place. In the distance, you hear the faint howl of a black-blooded lusus. It's a lonely sound, a desperate call for a bond it will probably never find. Not out here. All around you, everything seems to whisper a single word: death. No one ever comes this far out into the undead wasteland, at least not without a damn good reason. You're well aware of yours, and you will not be leaving before you find out what exactly it is that this Kodiak fellow is keeping so close to his chest. On that note, it's high time you got an actual move on. You start making your way down the slope towards the Skull Titan graveyard. The terrain here is way too uneven for tires, and so the bike had to be left behind. You bid it a solemn and sudden farewell as you hop over a particularly large crack in the ground. It's not a very steep incline, though. Any difficulty in the descent is more due to the graveyard's inhabitants than any sort of downslope. Maybe difficulty is overstating it. You'd gladly resign from your position as chief regulator if you ever let a bunch of wild, loose-eyed, mindless, half-dead trolls get in your way. It seems some of these creatures are eager to try their luck, though. As you land on the other side of a small ravine, two trolls whip their heads around and start slowly shambling towards you. You'd call it brave if you didn't get a distinct impression their actions come from lack of higher cognitive function rather than a sudden bout of courage. Oh well, it would be rude not to indulge them. The ensuing fight, by a loose definition of the word, is quick and straightforward. The undead closest to you, now in striking distance, lunges in your direction. You're already strafing to the right, and you dodge with ease. A swift advance to get in better position, your blade through its neck, and it's over. The body slumps in on itself after a couple of seconds with a final wet gurgle. You turn around to face your second opponent. Like the first troll, it tries to grab at you with clumsy, loudly telegraphed movements, and, like the first troll, you finish it off in a matter of seconds. Sidestep to the left to use the opening circle around it. Run Prosperina through its chest. Dead. Or rather, dead for a second time, you guess. Double dead? No, that sounds really fucking stupid. You pull your blade out of the corpse with a grunt, and it dislodges itself with a squirt of dark teal blood. You're going to have to give it a thorough wash later. Just as you move to sheathe it, you hear a very unpleasant squelching noise. Your eyes snap towards the sound. You have the distinct feeling you're about to extremely not like this. The carcass at your feet lies completely motionless except for the arithmetic repetitive strain you're able to make out on the back of its skull. Almost as if something is trying to. Before you can finish your thought, the skin bursts open with a sickening pop, and bits of rotten flesh and brain matter explode outward as a handful of writhing vermin make their way out of the troll's head. Ew. Their parasites that inhabit this stretch of land are peculiar creatures, not very well understood. They were discovered in a few. Not very well understood. Understood. They were discovered a few decades prior, only to start multiplying in droves over the course of the next few sweeps. They tend to stick only to very specific locations. The graveyard you find yourself in, for example, which likely stems from the abundance of a key component in their means of reproduction: corpses. These creatures burrow inside a troll or Lucis's body, using it as a walking host until their breathing cycle is complete, at which point they exit, only to find a new vessel and start the whole thing anew. It's all rather gruesome and revolting, and it's happening in front of you right now. Your face contorts into a grimace at the disgusting display. This is absolutely appalling. You hate this place. There's a modicum of satisfaction in squashing the insects under your heel, though. Viscous yellow liquid squirts out when you press down, and the consistency makes you think of spilled jam. The grossest jam you've ever seen. It hardens like a resin when it comes into contact with the crisp winter breeze. Take that, you nasty little fiends. No more corpses for you. You mentally congratulate yourself on an impromptu bout of pest control before sheathing your rapier and... What? Beneath your feet, the sudden tremors reach a deafening crescendo until a gargantuan figure shoots from the ground below you. You're knocked flat on your ass. You blink. The action is enough to nearly have you miss a cavernous gaping maw of an O-worm as it claims your 2 kills for itself with an enthusiasm befitting a 6-star full-course meal. Wait, is it navy-blooded? It's very hard for you to imagine such a detestable vicious creature forming any sort of genuine attachment to a troll, unless it had something to gain out of the arrangement, that is. Natural Lucii often require their bonds to be symbiotic in some manner, a far cry from the instinctual caretaker leanings of the domesticated, artificially reduplicated corporate Lucii tend to exhibit. A chunk of what used to be someone's thigh flies through the air, landing right next to your feet. You would really rather not have to deal with it, that beast in close proximity, if you can help it. With that in mind, you stand back upright, dust your coat off, and start speed walking towards your destination in as dignified and professional a manner as you can manage. It ends up being somewhat stiff. The rest of your trek is far less eventful than the first few minutes. His hive is really not very hard to spot, an elaborate modern building that you usually wouldn't find any sub-purple trolls residing in. You have to admit, though, you find the placement of it a tad questionable. Personally, you would not have built your home smack dab in the middle of a monster's long since brittled ribcage, right in the spot where a heart should be. You guess it makes a statement of sorts? Oh well, to each their own. A few minutes later, and you find yourself standing in front of an excessively large set of double doors. You see no way to properly knock on the entry slabs, no gaudy rings, no bells, no whistles, not even a communications box or a standard issue PA system. You almost take offense to it. Really, any non-modest living space that's worth its salt should have at least one of those. It sends a very apathetic message to any hypothetical guests otherwise. Before you can consider whether it's wise to loiter in the middle of one of the most uninhabitable places the Mass has to offer, the doors begin to clunk and creak. Oh, hi. It takes a moment, but you spot the silhouette of what you assume is your man. He still wreathes in shadows when you greet him. Hello, Dr. Coliad. My name is Cecilia Grah! A rotund, hunchbacked creature stitched together like a well-worn tapestry greets you at the threshold. Somehow, you get the impression that it's trying to communicate the feeling of equal greetings to you. It fixes you with a hollow yet oddly earnest stare. You were not expecting to be expected. Greetings? He simply blinks up at you. Rag! This is not the individual you thought would be welcoming you. You furrow your eyebrows, taking in the short little living thing that's now stepped into the light, peeking its head out inquisitively. You've never seen anything like it before. Could it be one of those daring experiments Hamifi mentioned back at her office? It certainly seems to be cobbled together from different parts, from what you can tell. Impressive and unprecedented results in the field, indeed. Do you understand me? It tilts its head to the side in a manner quite similar to that of a bark beast. Then it lets out a quiet, curious groan. It's almost endearing. You sigh. No, I don't suppose you would. You enact a number of interpretive hand motions at the creature, trying to convey the idea of doors opening and safe passage. It's like you're playing a slightly manic game of charades. Despite your great efforts, it still refuses to budge from its place. The only reaction you get is a quiet clap of coarse, slightly wrinkled hands. Kind of like it, honestly. And more indistinct vocalizations. Speaking of which, guttural gurgles echo across the landscape, steadily getting louder. The imminent company will soon be impossible to ignore. You glance at the critter. It looks back at you with its beady, innocent little eyes. Ah, damn it all, you just can't bring yourself to shove it out of your way. Resigning yourself to another series of butchery-related unpleasantries, you spit on your heels. Your hand hovers over your revolver as you gear up to face the incoming aggressors. You already got a solid smattering of gunk on your soles. You would really rather not risk your coats. One of the putrescent beings chooses this moment to vomit on the ground in front of it. You wince. It must be an uncontrolled reaction to exertion, which you can't help but see as a threat to the continued cleanliness of your attire. This better be some man. As if on cue, the clack of what sounds like steel-toed boots rings out from the dark hall that your puzzling new acquaintance was guarding. You turn your head just in time to catch it scuttling aside for... Oh, there he is. Ooh, music. I like this. You finally see your suspect, one occeus making his entrance from stage left. You're fairly certain this is not a repeat of the previous identity mishap. Excuse me for the wait, miss. Oh dear. With the effortless calm that comes with practice, he advances towards the nearest cluster of trolls and plunges his boot directly into one of their midsections. The maneuver not only rockets the troll's entrails out through his rotten back, but also sends all the nearby reanimated corpses tumbling down with it. A familiar tremor rattles you. Seconds later, you become intimately acquainted with the gluttonous jaws of the owlworm, as it bursts through the dirt to swallow all three cadavers whole. Sweet all-mother, you really hate that thing. You may also feel ever so slightly terrified of it. The encounter barely phases him. There is the briefest pause before he turns back to you, with what you can only describe as an unperturbed expression. Apologies once again, Miss Ayapara. That was quite the unnecessary spectacle. He scrapes his boots on the ground, getting some of the undead gunk off of his soles. At least your shoes match. Oh gee, perhaps we should continue this inside. Won't you please come in? Gladly so. You're led into his hive at last. You peer around at the various bits of machinery and cables with some amount of curiosity. There's a loud creaking as Koliad's assistant closes the doors behind you. It scurries off to his side and peeks at you from behind his torso as the three of you make your way down the hall. You fight the urge to give it a little wait before turning your attention back to your target. You were expecting me? Hamifi and I are in regular communication, and she was gracious enough to notify me of your arrival. Standard procedure for contractors. Ah, of course, standard procedure. Her reputation for being by the book does lend a certain veneer of credibility to this blatant spying. Still a wonder he never figured anything was out of the ordinary. She tends to have a lighter touch. Maybe you should be writing her up for such an obvious ploy. You take a closer look at him. The stiff set of his shoulders, the slight crease of his mouth. It's subtle, but he seems nervous, twitchy. Perhaps it's time to start applying some pressure. You don't seem particularly thrilled about my being here. I don't get many visitors. He glances to the side, readjusting his arms behind his back. The rubber gloves creak with emotion, and it would be incorrect to claim that this typically saddens me. You can certainly relate to the sentiment if that's all there is to it. Sometimes the best company you can have is your own. The moment passes and once again he schools his features into a cool, focused neutrality. Looking at him now, one would be surprised if a single muscle in his set jaws with a twitch. Ah, here we go. Troll anatomy. Just then, the corridor opens up into a lab. It's what you'd expect from the usual researcher paraphernalia. books, test tubes, various charts, an enormous computer pressed against the back wall, a tea table. Wait a second, is that an operating table? Huh. Please excuse the extent of the disarray. I was told that you were coming on very short notice and had to rush disposal. Disposal? The lab needed to be purified post-haste for your arrival. I also had to make us tea, Is that a cake? What is that? It looks kind of like a cake. That's why it took me so long to meet you at the door. He was making tea? You really did not have to go out of your way to do this for me. Nonsense, it's common courtesy. It really isn't, not when one chooses to pursue a career like yours. The effort is quaint, and you appreciate it, even if it's not the most hygienic of choices. You're not usually received so hospitably when you drop by for hive calls. You also don't have the chroma beater to tell them that you really don't care for tea. Warm milk mixed with the usual sugary fruits and cocoa powder just doesn't sit right with you, mainly due to the grits. You're very picky about texture. Make yourself as comfortable as possible. I recommend the cream biscuits. My sister Loki prepared them. They're also fresh. Oh, so he does have a name. Of course. He lays a hand on one of Rogi's shoulders. Good, Rogi. You must always title your proudest achievements. Eee! You suppose you can't really argue with logic like that. Finding yourself trapped by the expectation of good manners, you sit down at the makeshift table and tentatively take a bite of one of the pastries, under Rogi's expectant watch. It's sweet, extremely overly so, to the point where you feel like you just slurped the caramelized syrup straight out of a finished cigarette. Still, you give him your nod of approval. He claps excitedly. Yes. A long silence falls over the lab. This day must be getting to you because your mind drifts. You imagine yourself lying on this table, not an investigator but a victim weighing an autopsy. It's a silly thought, and you quickly dismiss it. In all fairness, being in Koliad's company is much more comfortable than you anticipated. You feel that if you were a coroner, you would at the very least take due consideration with your dead body. You suddenly feel the pressing need to break the silence. Your contracting has a rather unique set of circumstances attached to it. There's not really anyone doing work like yours outside jade blood practitioners, and even then, I would say you seem to fit rather snugly into your own personal category. Must be laborious. I prefer to think of it as necessary more than anything. He's still not sitting with you, just standing there next to Rogi. Vacantly staring at a spot on the wall. The goggles make it a bit challenging to puzzle out what he's thinking, honestly. The only thing you can tell is that he's nervous, gloved fingers anxiously pulling at one another behind his back. It looks like he wants to say something but can't find the proper words to start with. The entire situation is much different than what you were expecting based on your conversation with Amici, leagues apart, really. You went in fully prepared to be met with resistance, perhaps immediately run into something sinister? At the very least, you are ready to deal with a stiff, uncooperative recluse with a chip on his shoulder. But instead, in front of you, there is an anxious, overly polite man, more boy to you, really, who made you tea before opening the door and had his assistant prepare you biscuits. The neighbor is currently here, doing something, so I'm gonna have to pause this until either they leave or tonight. We'll see what's most convenient. It has been a few days, actually. Like, a good amount of time. Let's continue. Alright, I actually have no idea where I was, but but instead, in front of you there is an anxious, overly polite man, more of a boy to you, really, who made you tea before opening the door and had his assistant prepare you biscuits. You go as far as to say that he's entirely unaware of his present circumstances, and you are loath to imply this, but maybe Hamifi was a bit hasty in her or something. Still, you're not willing to let first impressions lead you astray. Not again. You're here for a reason, and you will conduct your investigation. Perhaps some casual conversation will lead you down the right path if there's one to be followed. And you'd like to have a better profile on Koliad. You decide to inquire about... Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get a drink so I don't die later. Alright. Obviously, I want to know about Rosw. You've been quite curious about this creation of his. Rosw seems to have a certain level of autonomous thoughts, along with base emotions and spontaneous reactions to stimuli. Very developed motor skills, too. You wonder if that's what got him on the corporate payroll in the first place. I've been led to believe that your indictment into the corporate fold was under rather unique circumstances. Might I ask what you did to win the representative's favor? Rosw here definitely seems to be worthy of attention. Actually, it came about a decent while later. I was first able to reach out to the board and through an extensive essay titled Examining Yields of Everlasting Sustainment, in which I documented research focusing on a hypothetical method of cellular decay reversal in all major blood shades, the concept of prolonged sustainment of life in the face of entropy, and the methods in which it could further grow society at large. This is all rather philosophical in nature. From the results you've seen of his research so far, you're expecting something more along the lines of hard science and applied biology. It is a very broad and ambitious proposition that I am happy they decided to listen to. I was always worried others would find my idea to be unrealistic. Luckily, I was able to prove myself with my serums, even if any subsequent subjects I used to test my hypothesis turned out to be less than savory in the end. Well, that was a rather harsh thing to say about him, don't you think? Rosw sounds aggravated. Yes, I know, I'm trying to defend you! You guess you're actually holding a conversation with him now. I forgot what noise I did for Rosw earlier. Rosw's kinda creepy to look at, but I like him. I believe he is trying to say that he's not who I am referring to. Rosw was a personal project co-created by myself and my associate as an experiment in adaptability and personality. He pats Rosw on the head fondly. Cute. Which ended up being quite successful, I think. So, you're saying he's not the norm when it comes to your test subjects? He's rather unique in that he lacks the usual disposition found in the others. Upon revitalization, most of them are sent into a frenzy. I assume it is the trauma of being forcibly brought back from wherever it is they had been lost to. You find the matter-of-fact way that he says the wherever portion to be quite telling. Certainly not a follower of the All-Mother's word, nor of the Not-Father. Perhaps he's not a follower of anything. It could be where he finds the will to carry on with his research. Morality can turn grayer without the thought of a higher entity breathing down your neck. You'd be lying if you said that the whole thing didn't leave you feeling a bit uneasy. This doesn't seem like an area of study one should be tampering with so deliberately. You wonder how something this unorthodox was given the go-ahead in the first place. Their attempts at salvation must be getting rather desperate. If you had to make a guess, Sestra and Hamithi must have been outnumbered by the other board members and trustees, perhaps even executively. What do you figure makes Rosw different from the rest? I am uncertain at the moment. My current working theory is that since he was created entirely from scratch, without any premortem individuality to speak of, the lack of a, shall we say, previous soul acts as an inhibitor to the inherently painful negative, which isn't to say he doesn't have feelings. He simply works through them at a slower and less intense pace than most. Yeah! Sounds like you have a good grasp of the situation then, Doctor. Koliad looks away from you, flushing. He seems weakened by the statement. Did I say something wrong? No, it's just... well, I haven't had the pleasure of being called doctor directly very often. You suddenly feel very old. You decide to inquire about, I guess, the supercomputer. Although I guess the goggles being the shape of auspices is interesting, but supercomputer. You recognize the exact model in his possession. It's corporate grade, very similar to the ones used in modified DNA strains in the reduplication labs. Maybe he needs this for his work because of the raw processing power? Oh fuck, I just realized something. I need to open, where is it? Here. Wait, no, I want, okay. Don't need that anymore, I already uploaded that. There we go. The first half of this. Or like everything I recorded before now. So as soon as I'm done recording, then the recording will be placed in here, right there. Alright, maybe he needs this for his work because of the raw processing power? Still seems like an oddly specific piece of equipment to have just lying around. Is that your workstation? Oh, no it isn't. I sadly do not have the time to utilize the device as planned. It has been modified from its original state in order to better monitor certain parameters. Well, these computers do excel at running large amounts of data at a time. What kind of information are you recording? Audible musings of the potentially extranatural with the objective of establishing contact. Ah, shit, not this again. What is it with these suspects lately? You really should not be messing with this kind of crap, it never ends well. You know from experience now. There's no need to be alarmed by the potential liability of such an idea. The process proves to be more draining than anything. I have never once heard anything besides a droning noise. It is very annoying actually. Once it worms its way into your head, it does not tend to leave. And the sound may be persistent, but at this point I am not nearly as much. Still, that's a treacherous field to be playing in. What practical use does all this data even have? He shrugs his shoulders, seemingly at a loss. I cannot say with certainty, as the statistics have not answered my most pressing questions thus far. The entire project is no more than a pipe dream at this point, one which I have no real way to execute in the long term. Something's still not sitting quite right with you, though. You decide to prod further. Oh, well, let us speak strictly in hypotheticals then. What do you wish you could get out of this? He seemed to take a deep dive inside his thoughts before pulling out the right words, offering them to you bluntly, almost as a dare. Untethered immortality. That's bold, and starting to ring closer to what you came here to find. You view that as something to aspire to? I view it as a potentially necessary thing, but as I said, it is highly probable to never happen on a wide scale. No one has the means to execute such an idea. That isn't exactly true, depending on who has that filter on hand, or what Koliad himself could do with such an object. He'd be able to bring all of his aspirations to fruition, all of that without a hint of involvement with corporate. Hell, he could end up rivaling it. You think you understand just why Hamifi's had her eyes trained on him. This is leading you right back to the prime suspect line of thinking you were starting to doubt you'd need. That, and it all sounds incredibly dangerous to you regardless. You can only hope Dr. Koliad keeps his senses and no longer meddles with forces he cannot control. Look, skipping does nothing. Why would it? Decide to inquire about his goggles. You can't avoid the rather unusual set of eyewear that Koliad has on. Its shape resembles that of common Ashen symbolism, although you imagine that's coincidental. The thought that he had been using it to protect himself from fluids and chemicals comes to mind, but from what he's told you, all he did before you got here was take care of basic disposal and make tea. Such a distinct shape can't be used for no reason whatsoever, though, can it? Perhaps if you're nice enough, he will let you in on such a self-evident secret. There's really no need to be so guarded about me, Dr. Koliad. Pardon? Normally, you'd prefer to instill a degree of intimidation in the people you talk to. It's conductive to the kind of work you do, part of the job description, really. But if you want him to open up, you feel as if a gentle touch would work better. You're still fully dressed for lab work, even though I doubt we'll be doing any experimenting anytime soon. Please, feel free to remove your gloves and your goggles. This is your hive, after all. I see no reason for you to stand there while I sit down at your table. I assure you I would not find that unprofessional. The indigo blood freezes at the proposition. His head snaps to you just as his hands ball into fists. Oh god. He opens his mouth and abruptly closes it again. You can practically hear the thoughts shooting around at his head, an expanse per minute as you watch on with mounting concern. Oh god, what did I do? Oh no. With every second that passes, the silence seems more tense. Koliad is visibly shaky. Before you can think of how to intervene, he clasps his forehead right over the middle lens of his spectacles. Are you okay, Doctor? I think I would much prefer to proceed with my trioc on. His voice is strained. The behavior leaves you baffled. Is this some sort of onset migraine from overexertion? You have trouble believing that such a straightforward request would leave anybody debilitated like this. It's not you. It just, well, it opens old wounds that I still don't fully comprehend, for lack of a better explanation. Please do not fret over it. You didn't know. You weren't fretting over it before. Seemed your curiosity struck a sensitive nerve. You're just going to have to hold it in for now. This topic clearly puts him under a lot of stress. The exact wording sticks out to you, though. You're no stranger to feeling less than satisfied with your features, but for his eyes to be a source of such distress? Oh well, it's not really any of your business. Well, it seems like you managed to find your path. Koliad is even more linked to the idea surrounding the Vivifier than you initially thought. And you managed to keep an amicable atmosphere to boot. You hope it'll be useful in getting him to open up or let something slip. Time to get to the real investigative questions. Not to sound blunt, Dr. Koliad, you've been an excellent host so far, more than I expected, but I do believe it's time I got to the reason why I'm here in the first place. Tell me more about how you do your work. You're reluctant to tell him the exact reason why you need this information. For all he knows, you're just here on a general business check-in. Regardless, the reaction you get is nothing short of ecstatic. Oh god. You're making me love him. Why? Or, well, someone as ecstatic as it can get when it comes to someone with Koliad's disposition. Still, it's noticeable how the topic seems to suffice with him with energy. Well, you see, outside of what I have already told you, my cause is to find a way to extend the duration of current Reptonian lives. A life expectancy between 28 and 55 sweeps is rather dismal compared to anything pre-Renaissance. However, in order to properly manipulate the faculties of life, we need to understand how it is created and how it can be restored. This is where my study comes in. The examination of whether and how life can potentially be returned to an individual post-mortem and reinvigorated. Some consider this practice ethically dubious, but I am of the mind that restoring our losses is the first step to our eventual recovery. The more we can save, the more we can utilize, the more manpower we will have in order to rebuild Repeton and achieve lasting peace and prosperity. Your eyes have glazed over. A pregnant pause settles over the room as you both stare at each other. You think he's expecting you to say something, but you struggle to formulate a response. Your expression does all the legwork. He clears his throat, a light blue flesh peeking out from under his goggles. It's not that you're bored exactly, it's just he asked for a demonstration, not an entire sweep's worth of theoretical ramblings to fill your head with. Everything seems to be recording right. Something's weird has been going on with the monitor recently, sometimes when I try to turn it on, it just kinda, if I were to turn it off, the monitor on and off right now, it'd probably be stuck, blinking until I, unplug and replug it. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, forgot why I mentioned that. I had a reasoning for mentioning that, but I forgot the reasoning. Oh yeah, and like it's been making a slight buzzing noise ever since that's happened. Like, okay, with this music playing, I can't really hear it, but when I take one of my headphones off, it's apparent. You can even just turn the volume down. Volume muted. I hear it loud and clear. Not really annoying or anything, but it's just concerning that it started doing that. I don't know. Alright, regardless, I do not know if you would understand where I to explain it in Rosw technicals. This somehow doesn't sound condescending coming from him. Credit where credit is due. What would you propose we do then? I'd still like to get a better idea of the results your process yields. Well, I currently find myself with no usable cadavers, nor a way to stitch one together. I would need to refer to my associate for that, and it would take much too long. The only option I could see being viable would be to go outside and obtain one for a live demonstration. It would need to be a fresh pick in order for it to work, though. Recently infected as do not allow for heavy rotor or extraneous trauma. Odd, you didn't think he'd be so eager to share his work from what Hamifi relayed to you. Could she really have been off the mark with this assignment? Perhaps any connections between his research and your missing bio are merely coincidences. Should have pressed on the topic. Those two have the habit of clouding your judgments. That sounds agreeable. Excellent. We shall leave and return post-haste. Now, to be clear, this is for... Oh, do not worry. We will try our very hardest to not leave you waiting for long. Come, Rogi. We are burning moonlight by just standing here talking at Miss Iopara and not showing her. And just like that, he leaves through the same hallway you entered in, his assistant faithfully trailing behind. You hear the familiar creaking of his front door opening a few seconds later, and then silence. Can I actually... Alright, let me see if the buzzing sound actually picks up. For reference. It doesn't seem like it actually picks up. I don't know. He just left? Mifi did say he preferred physical demonstrations, but this is almost comical. You barely had a moment to process what was happening. You wouldn't have been able to stop him even if you wanted to. This is such a notoriously bad move on his part. You can't make heads or tails of it. There's a high-ranking corporate operative inside his house sent specifically to investigate him and his methods, and he didn't even realize leaving you up to your own devices might not be the wisest of ideas? Boggling. Or it would be, provided he was in any capacity involved in the events you are investigating, which has become questionable after this stunt, because come on, but still, how can somebody so evidently smart be also so oblivious? You feel almost morally obligated to conduct an investigation just to teach him a lesson in situational awareness. Alas, you won't be doing it for that reason. You'll be doing it for regular business reasons as planned. If anything, Koliad's absence means that he's less likely to get upset at witnessing your more hands-on methods. Thank you for that much, Doctor. Yvette chooses this moment to pipe in, almost knowingly. The sunshine definitely does not make you startle. Apparently, your new companion comes with a full body scan mechanism that integrates it with your cognition somewhat. You're still not used to these notifications going off whenever you get those investigative emotions going. Oh. Orica may be a dangerously brilliant engineer and a friend, but you found out the hard way that streamlining interface systems is not exactly her forte. A good portion of your 2-night study period was spent just figuring out how to even work the gadget. You lost count of how many widgets you had to remove for each access. Really, All you want is to be able to record your increments without a complete record of your emotional vital signs relayed to you through emoticons or emojis or stickers or whatever. Ahem, you were saying, time to get to work. You don't know how long it will take him to obtain a specimen. From what you've seen, he is more than capable of handling himself, and there are a lot of undead roaming the graveyard. You can only search what you deem to be conducted to the investigation proper. No doubting. Might as well go with the most laborious option first. All these cabinets are just begging to be rifled through. You pick the one closest to you to start, which is addressed by the massive computer. You take a cursory glance at the book sitting on top of it, various schematics and other scientific resources. The spoilers of your actual search are similarly disappointing. Flasks, tubes, extra pairs of gloves, scalpels, nothing out of the ordinary here. Eventually, you're just left with a big cupboard at the end of the room. You're not expecting much at this point, everything you've seen has been innocuous enough so far, but you're nothing if not thorough. You pull the double doors open and do a quick inventory of its contents. Cleaning tools, mostly. Just as you're about to close them back up, a bottle rolls out from underneath some towels, landing on the ground with a thump. You furrow your eyebrows, picking it up and examining the label. It's liquid dye? Strange, you don't remember finding anything else around this hive that would indicate an interest in the arts and crafts. You lift a cloth that was hiding it from view. Underneath, there's even more bottles of the stuff in various colors. The entire display is rather conspicuously tucked away. Very strange. You ponder for a moment, but no plausible explanations come to mind. You're not sure what to make of this. After another moment of deliberation, you shrug and stow the item back into its original place. You'll have to tuck this observation away for later. Your curiosity pecks at you, however. There's a feeling that you haven't quite been able to shake off since your fun little interview. If what Koliad said about searching for untethered immortality is true, then there must be something about it on his computer, some thread that you could follow. You walk over, you fiddle with the keys and knobs for several seconds before you somehow stumble onto the power button. What you find shocks you. Absolutely nothing. Well, not absolutely nothing. You search through the direct files and its various inventories, but you only find old notes and meetings that aren't exactly intelligible. Something about a transmuted epiphysis cerebri pops up, but whatever he's discussing seems out of focus beyond rational thoughts. A test file perhaps, or some sort of private joke. Though he doesn't strike you as the type for random bouts of humor, you try to search for any kind of software, modified or otherwise, that you could be using to make contact with the outside forces he spoke of, but you still find nothing. This entire machine is practically wiped clean. It doesn't even have a custom wallpaper. You do notice he has Scorp though, the only application currently running. This is a bit of a gamble, but perhaps there's something to be found amid his discussion with his so-called associates. You decide to take that. It seems that all of Koliad's recent Scorp calls have been from Hamifi. Not much of interest there. He starts scrolling through his recent conversation logs and contact lists, only to find them practically barren. When you investigated Repice, his conversations were frequent, friendly, colorful. Koliad, on the other hand, seems to almost never message anyone. Sanguine Allegory, wiser than no contact. Demiurge quantified, over 2 blinks of silence. Pliable Decadence, no contact at all. Windless Artificer and Furbished Facilitated are a little more recent. You believe the former is a work partner he mentioned earlier, whereas the latter seemed to be giving him a bit of a cold shoulder. You reach Grandoy Saturation, who you quickly surmise is one Calder Kyrian, someone who you're frankly surprised isn't on your suspect list. Their last messages dates weeks back, almost 2 to be exact. You don't spend much time on them, but you know just how different they both sound in the messages you read. They're practically still children. Calder seems raw, like he's on the verge of breaking. You don't feel comfortable reading these specific messages further. The others continue to be less than useful, until you get to one animated humorist. You stare at the sign next to their chat handle. Isn't this the sigil that Husky and their group painted over the barn's wall, the sign of their savior? Upon closer inspection, the blood color matches as well. It's the exact same shade, just to the left of bronze, and makes you think of high fructose corn syrup. This must be your mind playing tricks on you after that concussion. A sigil like this should never have been on record, not anymore. A person like this shouldn't exist. It is then that your eyes catch on another chat handle. Exastere Oracle. You skipped over the name at first, assuming it was simply another shade of olive, but upon further inspection, the hex code lines up almost exactly with a picture of the filter in your dossier, or however the frick you pronounce those two words. Filter pronunciation.
Filter.
Alright, that's right. Dossier. Pronunciation. Sure. No, wait, no. Why would you do this? I forgot whenever you click a link, it opens in Microsoft Edge. Dossier. Filter in your dossier. Okay. You glance to the left of it. Sweet fucking oh mother. The sigils match, you know they do. No one alive on Repeton today is ignorant of this symbol, not with the impact it has had on this planet's history. This can't be real. The Vivifier was never reduplicated. No trace of her was ever found or arguably even existed until your case. You open the chat log. Their last communication was a couple of nights ago. You skim through the conversation, talk of experiments, of promising results, of replenishing the stock, and of love? That last part cannot possibly be genuine. By the end of it, you're gripping the desk so hard your knuckles have turned white. Pieces of the puzzle start snapping together in your mind as you try to make sense of what you're reading. These are symbols you've only seen note and cheap fiction among codes searching for someone to give their lives meaning, and stories pass through word of mouth and nobody dares to claim to be true. You tell yourself that you're dreaming or that you're just friends with the trolls who roleplay legendary figures in the pastime. You go through every excuse to try and rationalize what this could be other than a case blown wide open. But you don't buy it. You don't buy that young girl named Elsie Raines doesn't exist, that the blood stored in Koliad's laboratory isn't hers, that she has nothing to do with the marvels of science that put him on corporate's payroll. You don't believe the smokescreen, the pleasantries, and diet he tries to disguise this with. Who are these trolls? How come they even exist? And what does this mean for the case, for you? These are questions you don't have answers to. You don't think Koliad really knows either. None of these logs seem to suggest that he might have orchestrated any of these encounters. It all just seems so natural, like it was destined. Maybe you being here was destined as well. The music stopped. Maybe he's back. You can't risk losing this. You need a backup of this information, something more physical than usual. Time to test one of your vest's upgrade features. You press a button on your scouter and your vest scans the monitor, taking it the relevant snapshot. It's safely stored in an allocated folder. With the information secured, you whip your head around and your eyes immediately land on a single point of focus. The door at the back, which you now know serves as storage. You rush towards it, pushing it open with so much force it slams against the wall and rattles on its hinges. There, by the left wall, two cylindrical storage units. You barely pause before storming towards them. Just as you expected, the door is unlocked, like everything else that's been in this hive so far. It slides open with a hiss, and a blast of cool air hits you square in the face. The tendrils and mist dissipate in front of your eyes, and you feel a chill run down your spine. It has nothing to do with the temperature. You stare, petrified at the shelves in front of you. Rows upon rows of vials filled with blood. Lime blood. Elsie's blood. The Vivifier's blood. Your right hand grips the handle so hard you can feel your fist shaking. This is not what you came here for, and at the same time, it is exactly what you're looking for. Your head swims, and for a second, you feel as if you're going to be sick. Then all at once your turmoil comes to a boiling point inside you and you're seething. He nearly tricked you. On impulse, you reach out and grab one of the damn filters. You're probably gripping it with more force than you should, but you can't bring yourself to give a shit. You stare at the contents. They're vibrant green, all but shimmering in the artificial light, and not liquid as much as a thicker, gel-like texture. The chilled glass burns your fingertips. You fight the urge to smash the thing into the ground. There's noise coming from the other room. You hear moans from Roki, the familiar steel-toed step of Koliad's boots and scraping, like something is being dragged on the floor. Probably the body they intend to use this very blood on for demonstration. Miss Ayapara, where are you? Your voice sounds like venom even to your own ears. In here, Koliad. After a brief exchange with Rogi, he steps inside the room. You barely take note of his bloody clothes. You will take me to Elsie Rains. The safety catch of your gun releases with a click. You aim at his chest. Koliad freezes at the threshold and slowly raises his hands up. He speaks up before you have a chance to. How'd you find out her name? The words leave your mouth almost as a snarl. You might want to give a little thing called a password a try. And stop stalling. You're not getting out of this one, Doctor. His voice takes on a pacifying tone, like he's talking to a wild animal. It makes you want to aim for his leg and pull the trigger. I have no intention of walking out of this, and I know that you don't either. In fact, I thought this confrontation a distinct possibility from the moment you stepped inside my home. But please, let me explain. I utilize Elsie's blood for my research because she allows me the privilege. The only reason it's kept secret is because it cannot fall into the wrong hands. Your own hand tightens around the revolver. A bark of laughter claws its way out of you, humorless. I suppose the right hand would be yours? Please. Part of you realizes there's no reason to argue with him, and yet the words spill out of you before you can stop them. You're keeping a vital, groundbreaking asset from the only institution on this fucking planet that has the necessary resources to do something tangible with it. Right under their noses, no less. Do you really think yourself better than the entire body of researchers at corporate's disposal, or do you just want all the glory for yourself? No, I don't think I am better than anyone else. I am simply trying to do right by our species and our planet. I want to help as many before me have tried to. Perhaps my hands are not the ones you in corporate would deem most fit to handle power such as this. He pauses, stilling himself. But it is not your choice to make, Miss Ayapara. It is hers. She trusts me to use her gifts correctly, and I simply trust her judgment in turn. You scoff. The revolver is still trained on its blood pusher. Oh, will you cut the bullshit? You still think this earnest act has any chance of sticking? After what you've told me, after what I've seen here? You expect me to believe you're on some sort of noble crusade to protect this Elsie when we're standing right in front of shelves upon shelves of her own blood? At least have the nerve to admit you don't want to lose your precious lab rat. He immediately stiffens at your words, and there we go, you think. The mark is off. His anger bubbles to the surface and you gear up for confrontation. You're taking him with you, willingly or by force. How dare you? How dare you demean her? You know nothing of what she has done for me. She saved me. What? That lab rat you so desperately wish for me to see her as. She is the salvation of this planet and the love of my life. I will not allow corporate to lock her away and treat her as a walking test subject. Not for any price. Not for any reason. And if you refuse to listen to her will... He draws his weapon and the finger you have on the trigger twitches reflectively. The raw intensity in Occeus's voice makes you still your hand. Then I will either kill for her or die for her right to be free. The words echo across the room, bouncing off the walls sharp, and they stick, ringing in your ears, inside your mind. It's like a cold, pale liquid as if washed over your body. The red haze leaves your vision, and in front of you see unsteady, trembling hands pointing a weapon in your direction. You see devotion and a fierce desire to protect at all costs. You see a child not even half your age. You see yourself 12 sweeps old, or rather, what you wish you could have been. For her. The vial you're still holding feels heavy in your hand. I... Tell me about her. This catches him off guard, and it does you too. You're not sure why you're asking. What? Tell me about Elsie. He stares at you for a few tense seconds, chest heaving before taking in a shaky breath. She is so very unique. There's so much of her shrouded in a dense fog of mystique. She is a host to a power the likes of which the world has not seen in Centilia. So many would rend her limb from limb in order to obtain it, and yet she perseveres through every unfair hand she's dealt. Her passion towards those she cares about rivals any work I could ever hope to do. His voice softens at the next words, and your throat constricts. And she loves to dance. She trusts others maybe a little too much, and I know that she craves company desperately. The kind that I more often than not cannot provide in this line of work, even though she deserves it and so much more. I do not get to see her as often as I would like, but even when she complains and gets frustrated, she still believes in me, and whenever I get to see her smile, I truly feel as if I am doing the right thing, for her and for everyone else. At this point, his laser is hanging limply by his side. You've also been gradually lowering your revolver, not quite aiming at him anymore, but still at the ready, just in case. His words swim around inside your head. For the first time in what feels like ages, you waver. Before you see two paths. Oh god. Empathy, obviously. You have to... Okay, empathy. You have to do this. You have to let him go. So you do. You push the safety of your revolver back on, and the click makes occeus startle. He's tense, shoulders clenched and jaw locked. You know his eyes are boring into you even though you can't see them. Once again, he seems to be expecting you to say something. Once again, you let your actions do the talking. With a smooth, practiced motion, you holster your gun. Occeus' shoulders slump. What are you doing? What are you doing? You think quietly to yourself. You breathe out through your nose in a sharp huff. I'm letting you go. You direct a command at Yves for Occeus to hear. Yves, dump the latest snapshot files. You watch the screen as it permanently deletes some of the most important secrets corporate could ever hope to know. The silence that follows your statement hangs over the two of you like a thin veil. You stare at each other. Occeus feels for the wall behind him with one hand. He stumbles back and braces himself against the surface. His laser clatters to the ground. Oh, I see. He slumps against the wall, running a trembling hand through his hair. Then, to your surprise, a quiet peal of laughter spills from him. Thank you. His voice has a watery quality. Thank you. I can't get... What does it mean for a voice to have a watery quality? Oh. Okay. Thank you. I can't do it. Yeah. His voice has a watery quality to it, and when he lifts up his head again, his face lights up with the first smile you've seen from him since he walked through the front door. He was smiling earlier! No, seriously, okay, let's go back. Look at that! That's a smile! You know, I can just skip ahead. Empathy. Hi. But still, thank you, Miss Ayapara. The gratitude in his voice is slightly over. Thank you, Miss Ayapara. I gave him such a serious voice, it's hard to actually get the empathy. like the whole emotion through it, but I guess I'm managing. The gratitude in his voice is slightly overwhelming. You glance aside and clear your throat. Yes, well, you're welcome, Dr. Koliad. Do try to keep your doors properly locked next time. You're still clutching the vial in your hand. At this point, the blood inside has started to melt and it's sloshed around in its container as you lift it up. You consider it for another moment before putting it back in its original place and closing the door. There's an undercurrent of something left unsaid permeating the room as you both stand there. With your back still turned to him, you heave a sigh, then you shoot him a glance over your shoulder. I'm sorry about what I almost did. I'll spare you the details. It's a long story and we just went through a whole situation together. It is alright. At this point, he's already pushed off the wall and assumed a more collected stance. You press your lips together, furrowing your eyebrows. Is it? Well, perhaps not quite. But I'm okay with it at least. Were you sent here to look for the blood in the first place? You reluctantly nod. His mouth twitches up into a smile, a deep chuckle leaving his throat once more. Perhaps I should have gathered that much from the start. I am not always the most receptive, but I know just how hard it is to do your job. It's a difficult balance to maintain. I am sure you meant well. I try to do my best to do what's right. That's really all we can do. Thank you again. Just don't tell anyone I did this for you, especially not Miss Heckrix. Consider my lips sealed. With a final nod in this direction, you start making your way out of the room, only there's someone to rogue you. It sort of looks like he wants to give you a hug. You pat him on the back, glancing over your shoulder at Occeus one last time before you reach a corridor. He waves at you, and you wave back. Then, you leave. As you approach your motorbike, a familiar din echoes across your sound chasms. You know who you'll hear on the other end of the line. After all you just went through, you really don't feel like answering. The weight of your decision has barely started to settle on you. You feel slightly dazed. A moment passes and you take a deep breath. Then you notify your vest to answer. What do you want? Forgot what voice I did for this person entirely, even forgot what gender they were specified as. Such blatant hostility. I don't know what else you expected from me. At first I expected nothing at all, but then you started to surprise me. That's why I chose you. Did you like what you found? You have every reason to believe that they know exactly what has happened, but you're not feeling particularly agreeable right now. I don't know what you're talking about. I never found anything past your last little scheme. What a terrible waste. And after Miss Heckrick seemed so thrilled about the tip I gave her too, I knew she would take the bait once I told her what she wanted to hear. A shame. Your blood turns to ice in your veins. His words, fuck. Your blood turns to ice in your veins. His words settle inside you, heavy like an irradiated lump of ore, slowly poisoning you from the inside out. What did you just say? The raspy chuckle that comes out of your earpiece feels like a serrated blade dragging across your skin. I see you continue to listen whenever I tamper with those you hold dear. Yes, Cecily, that little insider was me. You should know firsthand just how easy it is to play pretend. Even more so when you're viewed as what was it? Ah yes, an unhinged voice-changing criminal. Your blood boils as scream threads and burst out of you in your frustration, but you keep your grip, just barely. You refuse to give them the satisfaction. So this is where you wanted me. Was this why you took the filter? No, not for this place in particular. Let's call this little detour a necessary raising of the stakes. You see, this story that I've invited you to be a part of, it has rules, and you have been following them quite exquisitely. I did lead you here for a reason, just as I have everywhere else. You're simply not in a position to grasp the bigger picture yet. You want to call this a load of bullshit, but the more you think about it, the more certain coincidences start to line in your head. If you had not gone to Husky's barn, the animated humorous symbol would have meant nothing to you, and if you hadn't been led to Orca, you wouldn't have had any knowledge of their methods in the first place. Maybe even Indari was premeditated. Maybe that girl in the dress wanted you to notice her. Are they giving you hints on purpose? What purpose does it serve for you to lead me on this path? What purpose did the path serve for anyone? One would only assume it eventually leads somewhere. You saw some of the breadcrumbs yourself, didn't you? The blood is merely a circumstantial byproduct of this particular chronicle. This is bigger than all of us. Our lives have always been and always will be superfluous, irrelevant, forgettable set pieces in the grand order we cannot comprehend. I simply want to prove a point on my way out. What fucking point do you have to make? That harming others yields results? That makes into a statement? Oh, perhaps the lapdog can think for herself after all. Fuck off, you have no moral ground to stand on. And you're wasting all this precious time you have left before I find you a meaningless diatribe. We'd all like to think ourselves better than those we view as inferior. You go out of your way to aid some, yet to neglect others. Why is that, I wonder? At the end of the night, life is all the same. Hollow self-indulgence. This is why we need cleansing. That is what I wish to prove to you. You are absolutely vile. I am the cure. I will find you. Of course you will. That is what I want you to do. You just need to go through the necessary steps beforehand. Pacing is very important after all. Take a good look at the setting regulator. You'll wish to remember it. I've made you an appointment with an acquaintance of mine. You're preemptively welcome. Behind the cracked skull of Bear Gunness. 3 days. What the fuck that means. A hermit will await you. And if I refuse, we both know you will not. That's why you're special. You grit your teeth and the line goes dead before you have the chance to reply. A weary sigh leaves you, fading into the barren landscape. You stand there for a few seconds, glaring at a pebble on the ground. Then, as you hop back onto your bike, a solitary course of action begins to form in your mind's eye. You now know which hands are the wrong ones, or at least you have a better idea of it. You know that this isn't solely about Vile anymore, that this isn't the standard mission to retrieve a stolen object. Maybe this is against orders more than your usual flirting with disobedience. Maybe you don't fully understand what you're getting yourself into. But you do know one thing. Something this entire escapade thus far has taught you. This case doesn't have to be about what others want from you. It doesn't have to be about anything other than what you see it as. An opportunity to do right by this world, to stop someone who's more than eager to abuse it. You're doing this for yourself now, and as such, you press forward. And nice eyes. Snake Solutions Studio. Alright, I have to do something real quick before I do the other ending. I will do the ending we just did, like skip through it real quick after that, just to make sure it doesn't like fuck anything up, I guess. But yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Let's go for duty. You have to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. But do you really? You know who you are, what you could do. You have the capacity to do either of these things, and yet the only place of choice ever truly lies is within yourself. Whether you decide to listen to or ignore what your own soul already knows it wants. The feeling is all too familiar to me. I understand the doubt, the fear, but perhaps you need a moment to consider the weight of this decision more carefully. It is no trouble. I will wait for you. You will see what's right in the end, Cecily, because you will listen to her. Oh my god, you don't have a choice. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so there is an entity behind the narration. Probably just white noise, but very well could be someone else. But that was, what the fuck his name was? Occeus. That's probably my favorite route so far. Look at him. Good boy. Person. This is the thing. And then this other one, Shiri Labita. She was in the, she was in the comic Vassir, like, right before the intermission happened. I forgot what voice I did for her, though. But yeah. Meat or candy? Meat or candy? Let's get this out of the way. She's been on your mind for a while, and not just because of your recently acquired bumps and bruises. It's time you paid Mashiri Labita a call for business and for pleasure. So here you are, making your way through the stronghold's own pale light district, an area dedicated to the night's less colorful, but not necessarily less libidinous delights. It's probably, oh fuck. Fuck, okay. Not actually bad, but, okay, I guess I'll use this. Everything else I have open is important. I just want to go ahead and clear that and that out of the way. So I don't know. There's something else I was gonna. I don't know. An area the fuck I read that. You turn left on the Peso Promenade, heading for an apartment building limned with fluorescent pink about half a block away. The labels of your long coat are pulled up against the cold and prying eyes. Even though the district is corporate sanctioned, as all internal districts are, there's still a unshakable need for surreptitiousness that grips most people whenever they come here. Because while there's no shame in availing oneself of temp services, either corporate, state-sponsored, or free commercial, there's something psychically degrading about the ins and outs of withdrawal management. That's all stuff you're used to by now, though. Your caution is for other reasons. By now, you've hopped the steps of the co-opted temp apartment building and spiked Mashiri's buzzer with one weary finger. She knew you were coming, but not what state you'd arrive in. You're not all that forthcoming about personal injury on your best of days, and certainly not when you're at all certainly not when you're at all nervous about phone security. Well, here she is. That nose. The carpet muted shuffling sounds as someone about to open the door gently tug you out of a characteristic overthink, and then suddenly, Miss Sherry is here. You're sure you make quite the display. Exhausted coat, ragged, silly band-aids on your head as a kind of ironic ornament. No offense meant to the on-scene first aid you received, but it felt necessary to have someone back at the. Wait a second. I just realized I had my headphone volume pretty far down. I hope all of that stuff previously was not too loud. No offense meant to the on-scene first aid you received, but it felt necessary to have someone back in the office give you an actual once-over after the whole ordeal. It's definitely not the worst shape you've darkened Mashiri's doorstep in, but despite the rest, it's close. Alright, oh my goodness. Lily. What? Her eyes widen in surprise. There's a pinch to her eyebrows, and despite the less than ideal circumstances of this particular meeting, you can't help but admire her for a few seconds. You feel a smile tug at your lips. Hey, Miss Sherry. The moment is immediately ruined by a ragged, wet cough that claws its way out of your lungs. Miss Sherry goes out of focus for a few brief seconds, and your head spins. When you manage to adjust your eyes again, she's standing right in front of you, doing her best to hold you up right by the shoulders. Oh, mother, you're hurt. Sit down. I'm fine, don't worry. I just hit my head a bit. It's been a rough few days. To put it mildly. She purses her lips in a manner that is equal parts fond and exasperated. It's a look you become intimately acquainted with over the weeks. Dear thing, do you take me for a fool? She's already leading you inside before you can object, one arm wrapped around your waist in order to support your weight. You're not sure you even want to protest at this point, to be entirely honest. It's been a rough few days, and you're one concussion over your recommended daily limit of blunt trauma to the think pan. Letting someone with experience take care of you will hardly make things worse. You half stumble, half follow Sherry through her living room. It's a practice motion. You know this place by heart, but all the meticulously organized personal belongings, every carefully arranged piece of furniture. She lets you down on her couch with a grunt, and you let yourself fall gracefully against the soft cushions. Oh, mother, you're tired. Your head feels so heavy. You allow yourself a few seconds of respite as Sherry moves away from you. Your eyes close and you lean your head against the back of the couch, idly listening to the soft rustling as she flits about the room. A few minutes later, and you feel the press of something cold against the side of your head. You crack one eye open and find Sherry leaning down in front of you, inspecting your wounds. She tisks in disapproval, then gently runs a hand through your hair and tucks it behind your left ear. This bandage is woefully insufficient. What kind of slipshod medical attention did you receive? A raspy chuckle leaves you at her words, and you lean your head against her free hand as she cups your cheek. My old friend Orica has found a new hobby in first aid. You'll find I'm carrying a great deal of evidence of her handiwork and a new piece of gear by way of apology. Your answer seems to catch her off guard. She blinks rapidly, mouth hanging open in a confused "oh." Wait, Orica did this to you? Well, not really. She was a pawn in a game I seem to understand less and less of every day. It's an antagonistic force out there, an insidious messenger driving trolls to their death. I'm ashamed to admit I almost fell right into his trap. The admission comes with some difficulty, almost like a confession. You don't meet her eyes as the words leave your mouth. There's a pause in the conversation. Then she moves the cold compass away from your head, setting it down on a nearby table. The sudden change in temperature leaves a warm, tingly imprint on your skull. Sherry wordlessly helps you shrug off your coat, hands gentle. She's always so careful with you when she deems it necessary, as if you made of fine glass. You'd find the comparison humorous if you weren't feeling so brittle. She sits herself next to you, placing a hand against your jaw and forcing you to turn your head, until the two of you are face to face again. You need to take it more slowly. I haven't seen you since this business began. I've read a great deal about the case already, but I don't think anyone truly knows just how much you're taking on. You let out a puff of air, wrapping your hand around her own. I prefer the work in the background. You know that. There's the working in the background, and then there's suffering alone. You're trying to solve a conspiracy as a one-woman agency. You need a team, Lily. Inside assistance was necessary for this heist. How can I know who to trust? Her eyes flash with a familiar intensity before she replies, a sign which you know means that the gears have started turning inside her head. It's been a while since you've collaborated on a case together. The thought is like a bolt of electricity running through you. Start from the other side. What are the problems you're facing? And who can help solve them? Oh, dear God. Are we gonna go through these one by one? Like, if I were to skip through all... skip through all of this? Okay, yeah, we're going through them one by one. Well, I already clicked Coda's contact, so why not? And Derry was a buzz as far as the code knowledge goes. Fuck. It just doesn't befit a vivifier sect like the Mora to leave bodies behind and work with a serial murdering nihilist. Fuck, what did I just click on? Oh, that. There's an Amazon app? Like, for a computer? When did that happen? Fuck is this photo? Like, this one specifically, I mean. Sorry, I'm just confused, but curious. Oh, not gonna show me the specific photo. Oops, fuck, spoilers. Those are spoilers for a thing I'm working on. Oh god, oh fuck. Okay. Oh, okay, the Vaster and Snowbound Blood series seem to be the most popular on my channel, so that could be a problem, but I don't really want to go through the trouble of blurring them out. I mean, it's just a few images. It's not like story spoilers or really anything. I don't really mind. In fact, most people probably don't even know what that's for. Oh well. Like, out of everyone watching this, I think only about 2 people will know what that is for. Anyway, it just doesn't befit a vivifier sect like the Moor to leave bodies behind and work with a serial murdering nihilist. I need some other way in. Nothing comes to mind immediately, but I'll look through the files I have. Weaponry. Prosperina and my snub-nosed revolver serve me well, but I might want something a bit longer range for dealing with a well-prepared enemy. It would be worth your time to look into weapons dealers anyway. See if there have been any suspicious purchases. Quite. Hopefully I can find something not too gaudy to wield. For someone who wields the same thing every day, you are quite concerned with the aesthetics of your arsenal. It's not a crime to take pride in the tools of your trade. I'm sure he gives you a knowing look at this remark. I don't like this face design very much. Kind of off-putting, I guess. It's probably the nose, but everything on here kind of looks off-putting here. Oh no. Like, everything else looks good. The hair, the horns, the outfit, all that stuff. I really like that sign, too. Like, I don't know why, but a sign being those dots like that, not sure what it means, but I do like it. Oh well. Mashiri gives you a knowing look at this remark. Of course. Hacking. It's clear that our opponent, Mashiri smirks a bit. Shh! You said I should have a team. You've been drafted. Always happy to help. Your face runs a bit hot. Not now, Shiri. You're trying to do tactics. As I was saying, our opponent is quite deft with computers, and the other trolls that Orga told me he messaged, many of them are dead, ruled suicides, but I'm having a few juniors review those cases. I'm self-aware enough to know that I can't handle that avenue on my own, but it's likely he's either high up inside corporate InfoSec or has copyrighted someone within. I know of quite the proficient programmer. Through some rampant speculation about his unusual personal relationships amongst the mediators. Wait, is this one of the vaunted boys I've been hearing so much about? One and the same. You've had an odd feeling about Bitcoin and dairy descriptions of their tight-knit social circle. Was it revulsion or envy? Perhaps I'll reach out. Insider knowledge. I can navigate the typical corporate BRC while we root around for a mole. I have a broad mandate for information gathering without anyone asking too many questions. Okay, anyone who's watched this far, I know one of you in particular will. Should I, make the Vast Error playlist, on the front page for this channel? Because I don't know why, but it's been getting the most views compared to everything else. Hold on here. If I were to... Alright, if I were to go to here, to my YouTube channel, if I were to click on videos, and if I were to click on most popular... Oh my god! 250? Oh my god! That's more than I remember! Oh dear god! Do I have any... 10 likes for some reason. Comments? No comments. What the frick? Really? How is this my most popular series? I don't get it. But okay. I'm not complaining. I think I'm not. I don't know. I do good thumbnails though. Like seriously, you gotta admit this is a good thumbnail right here. Alright, back to game. It may be worth getting more help from the air in its life. Lia's son as well. Actually, while I'm at it, how many views does the Vast Air playlist have? 580! Oh dear God! Oh God. I'm speechless. Why are they so popular? Like, what the frick? I don't know what to think. But thank you. God. Anyway, it may be worth getting more help from the air and his liaison as well. I've been trying to avoid putting them in harm's way. Her gaze softens at your words. She strokes your cheek with her thumb. Fair. I'll consider other options. Combat support. If this is indeed a conspiracy, it might be useful to have more muscle by my side. Ooh, just realized that's a harp. That's cool. And I imagine now the junior regulators meet your rigorous standards. Pencil pushers, a lot of them. Nobody does proper field work anymore. They have the drones do it. Maybe Orca's Matesprit would too. Worth an explanation at least. That is, if you'll survive another encounter with Rowst. I'm glad you're accepting help. Ridiculous as this figure may be, the threat he represents must be taken seriously. You tried to sweep the queen off the board in the opening. I worry you will accept the sacrificial gambit one day, Lily. So what does he want, besides you out of his way? Not profit, left it in its wake throughout this whole ordeal. Valuables in the trucks, he dwell her wealth untouched. No sign of this thing popping up on the black market. I thought you'd lost your black market contact blinks ago. Found a new one. Siraj Feltree had her pegged as a suspect and ended up drunk in her office instead. Of course. You really do have a problem, Lily. What, with drinking? No. With woman? Oh my God. Smooth. Says the biggest part of it. You come to my door for succor and then slander my good name? What a diplomat. It's not slander if it's true, mediator. Oh God. Those are fighting words, Chief Regulator. Square up. What? You heard me. You raise your fist in a fox defensive posture as she does. Indeed, square up. You idly swat away a few fake jabs at history's gentlest left hook. Mashiri laughs and leans in, pushing the fist of your boxer stance apart to get close. Mashiri smells the spring air like none of the smog of the world outside has ever touched her. You, her Lily, close your eyes and embrace her, pressing your lips to Mashiri's forehead gently. Aww! You know, I think I showed great pugilistic promise there. I think I'd have solid odds if we fall for real. If we fall for real, yeah, you'd win. A delicate warmth has been oozing slowly and inevitably through the room, like a very visit's very affectionate, lukewarm lava flow, while the two of you have been chatting. Bashiri Labita is one of those rare, faintly haloed if you squint people that you sometimes get up in the morning and thank the All-Mother for the grace of having met, metaphorically speaking. It's really thanks to her, Mashiri Labita, 5'2", give or take, in her flat-soled shoes, hair sleek and meticulously kept, presence vaguely cinnamon infused, that you're alive in the first place. It's all beginning to take you back. Recall after Enlita. They told me you'd be coming. Armed guards at the door didn't give you any trouble, I hope. Can I take your coat? Why, you're still wearing yours. Do you require a second? No, well... Oh, wait. Oh, this is before the thing. Fuck. Okay, I'm not going to change the pitch of the voice. A little joke can go a long way towards diffusing the tension in situations like these. If you are cold, though, I can assist in warming you up. I can make a spot of tea. I prefer my liquids without grit as a rule. I'm fine. Alright, very well then. Well, I'm certain an official in your administrative capacity is well aware of my role and the purpose thereof. Regulations still require me to provide a basic introduction. My name is Monsieur Labida. I'm a temporary emotional mediation partner. You could just say temp like everyone else. Much more efficient. I am trained to assist in the stabilization of corporate assets in the event of the loss of a bondmate should the registered memorial not be available. And I have been licensed in the practice for over a sweep. Just a sweep? Was everyone more senior too afraid after my outburst? I know I gave Zaim quite the bruise. While it is possible that some of my cohort may have considered your reputation in conjunction with a recent incident a challenge to take on, I assure you I am not at all frightened of you, and hope to be of assistance in this difficult time. Let's go over your medical history. Let's not. As you wish. We can handle the paperwork later. I doubt it. I appreciate your offer, but I'm fine. While I'm sure you're appropriately qualified, I'm declining temp service, as is my right pursuant to Article 5. I'll return to work after the mandatory period assigned to me. Don't play games with me, Cecily. You're up against the wall right now. Everything that matters to you is under siege. You're barely hanging on. I've read your file. You assaulted a superior officer. If you send me back, they're not going to send another temp. They're going to send the chief regulator. So play nice for a minute, and I can at least get the armed guards off your stoop. Capice? While Article 5 of the bylaws does give the worker consumer the right to decline mediation services, it does still require the completion of a standard evaluation report, and decline that report with a resource readiness inquiry pending will trigger a review by the chief regulator. Apologies, let's continue. Have your prescribed medications changed? There are a number here. I've been taking the same ones for a couple sweeps. Can I ask you a question? Of course. When does it start? A hand upon yours. Comforting. Well, it depends on where you were at your cycle, of course. When was it the last time you reaffirmed your bond? It was the first thing you noticed when she appeared at your door that day, and something you haven't stopped noticing in a sweep since. How much she looks like Elena. Her looking like that and asking that question seared in your gut indescribably, but now, in the present, the pain has become something else. Less of a burn and more of a dull, pale ache. I hope I'm not causing you too much trouble. You've been causing trouble for me for 10 sweeps. Don't stop now, Lily. Just making good trouble. I have done a lot more thinking about what good is. I learned more about corporate. I've seen things. I know the level of responsibility. It's always going to be impossible to do everything right. And we're up against much worse. Are we really? This guy, the voice in your ear, where does he prey on people? Hassle them? Turn their friends against them? Where does he find the members of the mobs he sends after his targets? Sorry about that, just had to check something. My grandma wanted to order food, so I need to pause for a bit when it gets here. Where does he find the members of the mobs he sends after his targets? You know this. On the internet. If a bomb is delivered via post, you call the parcel troll an accomplice? Parcel trolls didn't put a system in every troll's pocket. At great expense, mind you. That algorithmically decides what to show you, controls how you get information, connects you instantly to thousands. Corporate did. Corporate centralize our systems of social interaction. They create a pipeline that encourages trolls to document everything about themselves for public consumption. A spotlight that leads dangerous people right to the people they threaten. Your fancy new visor accesses corporate records to get the information you need to kill people. This figure uses corporate records. In this case, social media run on their servers and maintained by their engineers. To find information on who he kills. Don't compare me to. I'm not Lily. I'd never. You have accountability. You file each piece of information gathered. You report to supervisors. You are evaluated for this power. trained for it, and were judged worthy to wield it. Shouldn't that same accountability be applicable to both the system you operate in and the system he does? It's always about the next big evil bad guy with you, but bad guys don't exist in a vacuum. If they did, they'd quickly suffocate, which would obviate the need for this whole conversation. Bad people are created by systems and enabled by systems, and the systems that make them and sustain them should be looked into a little deeper. That's all. You always manage to make the radical sound so mundane. You're dangerous with theory. I'm dangerous all the time. Yeah, me too. Heck. You pause and take in the dimming light outside. It's always like this with our hours passing in what seems like the blink of an eye, conversations spanning every aspect of your lives all tangled up in each other. No, you're wrong. It's not always been like this. There have been times where the two of you have tried to untangle yourselves, for her sake. The first try was almost 10 sweeps ago. The last wasn't long ago at all. Mediation is an ancient... meditation... Oh, mediation? Okay, it's mediation, frick. It's an ancient tradition. Its practitioners are tight-knit and, like any high society, they gossip. As the sweeps of Mashiri's work stretched on, her colleagues began to talk about her behind her back as an oddity, never dipping into red or black relationships, focusing wholly on her profession and you. One evening she'd been quite upset. A bottle of wine and a session later, you discovered it was because they dubbed you the silly Io parasite. That's clever, though. You thought it was sweet that she'd get so upset over a slight to you. The nickname didn't bother you much, but seeing her back here after another final separation and her falling red for another brings it back to mind. Mashiri's mediator peers are 201 socially perceptive. You watch her glide around the room, the picture of serenity, a blessing you've never understood. She's circling around, putting sputtering matches through the wicks of many candles to light the dimming room, flames dancing in her dark eyes. She's one of the few practitioners of the old ways, with new hires opting out monasterial isolation that intensive study requires. Most are elderly now. She unties a ribbon from her hair, which lets you see the gold-threaded inscription embroidered on it. It's in the old tongue. Most trolls, including you, got your education through technology. Dead languages weren't on the curriculum. Mashiri, though, grew up studying intensively with others of her tradition, and can speak and write fluently in pretext. She's tried to explain it to you, but somewhere around declension you always start losing focus. Her dark hair spills down her back as she sits down beside her harp and begins to move her soft fingers delicately across the strings. Again, a creature of uncommon talent, she knows well your difficulty with most music, but the slow, wandering tone she plays always puts you at ease. You walk up to her slowly and kneel beside her on the soft mat floor. You watch and breathe and wait for her to begin the next part of her ritual. She sings a slow, mournful song in the old tongue, syllables softly flowing. You close your eyes and let the sound wash over you. You think the effect would be spoiled if you misunderstood the words. Spoiled if you understood the words. Okay. As it is, you can imagine it's exactly what you need to hear. A declaration of feelings and understanding in words so plain and clear as to make every stopped-up river inside your head flow freely again. You lose track of time, a rare privilege for you as she continues to play. You close your eyes as the last note fades, and the last notes fade into a resonant memory. You hear the shifting of fabric as she shifts across the mat, from beside her harp to your side. She lifts up your hands and lays them on one knee. You open your eyes. Mashiri is looping her gold thread hair ribbon under your wrist. A prayer is woven into it. She reads that prayer quietly, melodically, as the thread touches your skin. As she loops the ribbon around itself in an elegant knot, binding your wrists together, you remember what it means from the translation she first provided for you 8 sweeps ago. O Mother of omniscient name, impart a gift unto this plane. Deliver peace and respite now upon this well-deserving brow. The ribbon in concert with her words and touch feels attached to something greater. like you are tethered to a great enveloping root that winds its way through the soil of all that ever was. And if in action we do err, gather us then into your care, and our step and make us wise, so we may be your thousand eyes. When the ribbon is pulled taut, binding your wrist, she rolls back, happy with her handiwork. You, like always, catch yourself before you lean longingly after her. A wistful, questioning look flickers across her face in the candlelight. What does it mean to want to make someone happy? I've asked myself this question a great deal over our sweeps together. I want to make you happy. I know this much is true. You've seen me at my worst. I fear I might not be far from it now. People are dying and I can't even see the shape of the problem. I've been poring over every suicide on recent record, looking for connections. I don't have time to be happy, not while this monster is out there. Right now, while we're talking, someone's saying words on the screen that'll push them closer to giving up. That there's a selfish way to be selfless, you know? Where you make the problems of the world your problems, and let the pain rain down on you, and burn as the rain burns. It feels productive to hurt. She tightens the bond on your wrist, not enough to pinch, but frick, I'll be right back. Don't have very much time. She tightens the bonds on your wrist, not enough to pinch, but just enough for the soft ribbon to constrict, cut off circulation, squeeze firmly. But pains for pain's sake accomplishes nothing. Your agony cannot revive the dead of the past, nor can your guilt prevent the dead of the future. Happiness works kind of like magnetism. It's a force that comes about through alignment. Like a magnet is created by aligning the atoms in the bar of iron. Happiness is a construction that requires people's desires to be aligned in a corresponding way, along certain shared axes, usually neurotypical ones, mind you. Trolls who throw off the alignment or whose desires point in different directions, these people are seen as disrupting the right to happiness of everyone else. Are you saying my natural inclination towards unhappiness will harm society? Is that why you're so fascinated with fixing me? I can't fix you, nor do I want to. A long time ago it was my job to, and for some time after that, I admit I entertained the fancy that there is a conventional life possible for you, that I could find the right combination of words and the right soothing touch to make it a reality. The tips of her knuckles brush across your cheek. You weren't expecting it, your senses dull in your eye, and eyes shut, and it gives you a sudden chill. She lingers, dragging her hand accordingly, agonizingly slowly until the tips of her fingers brush your chapped bottom lip. You fight the bizarre urge to bite. I thought I could feel whatever gulf lies within you. You could live a normal life, the weight of this world off of you. I wanted to take you away from here, Lily, but there's nowhere else, and that made me realize how selfish that desire was. She's gone closer now. You can feel her breath on your face. Does she know how this feels for you? She must. This dance you've been dancing with sweeps? You don't know why she does this to you, how she actually feels. You never bonded, can't ever bond. You made sure of that when you met Yeshin 7 sweeps ago. In these moments, though, your thoughts swim with frustration and love. In another life, could it have been different? Would she have wanted that? Duty and selfishness, obligation and personal desire, together in the knot, the two of you irrevocably intertwined. Where's the line of pale? This world needs you. It asks you to be a machine, but flesh wears and weakens where metal does not. The mind runs with a dissonance of purpose. Someone must put you back together. Okay, I'm just gonna AFK until the food gets here and we're done with it. Frick. Here to finish this almost 2 hour long video, which will be 2 hours long. Longer, likely. But at least I don't have time constraints anymore, I hope. You're kneeling on her soft tatami mat, hands and ankles bound. Soft sound of harmonic wind chimes outside. Your vision swims with deeper shades of black behind closed eyes. Her hand, dull clawed but nimble, brushes a short buzzed hair on the side of your head and gently guides you closer. She kisses you. It's gentle, full of feeling, and gives you the sensation of falling, and always does. You never ask her for this. You never have. But you always end up coming back to each other, and you kiss back hungrily. You want her all to yourself, and she wants to keep you. unthinkable for a mediator, and at the same time so simple the radical made me mundane. If you had an ounce of shame, you'd catch fire with it. If you were concerned with appearances about a foundation of taboo your arrangement is built on, then both you and it would burn to the ground. But you don't ignite. There are no observers here, no shame. In this moment, there's no repeton to save, no murder to solve, no strict limits to adhere to. Just your lips and hers, and her hands roaming across your skin, warm and soothing. So, I have something to tell you while you're here. It's difficult. Previously, when assigned a client, we'd be given a folder, printed out information, their histories, past RRIs, etc. You'd been pushing Sister to rectify that, right? Yes, and he did. Thanks for this and that one. So there's a new computer system that lets us search employee records. I know I struggle with the computers occasionally, but you don't have to warn me that you're about to talk about them. Hush. So I looked into a few things from the past. They digitized historical case files going back to sweeps. As it happens, the one who used to provide me reports eventually transitioned to managing that OCR system. I liked him. Tinny? He helped me out back when I was junior 3. The very same one. And yes, he's preserving entire libraries now. Where's the cost of your morning reading being nerfed, I'd say? I have this archivist do it for me now. Clever thing, but too enthusiastic by half. One time I asked her if an alibi of a guy buying chips at the time of the infraction was true. She gave me a 10-page report that included a graph of quarterly profit in the convenience store industry, indexed the power cost increases from crypto mining. Don't fuss. That report got you on Bitcoin's tail. Not that it's paid dividends. Greasy bastard covers his rat tracks. At least his lead was interesting. You're getting distracted. You always change the subject when you fear bad news. You'll find I'm an expert at receiving bad news. Of course, it's a skill you've honed well. Let's just see what happens if we stall. Well, when it comes to telling myself, I'm sure you know all about that. You go for a smile that you hope is somewhat winning, but Sherry chuckles a little politely. There's no heart in it, though. Cecily, please. This doesn't look good. Your attempt at questionably platonic flirtatious prevarication hasn't made you feel any better about what's coming. Might as well get it over with. Hear it. What is it? No point in delaying the unpleasant. At least it isn't taking you completely by surprise this time. Look, I searched the Robiat file to see if there had been any updates on troves of interest in her case, and I was surprised to find an unredacted copy on the database. Just hearing Alina's surname freezes you, shocked still. The posthumous file you received was pitifully thin. It was Miss Sherry herself who told you not to press to emphasize acceptance. Something must be very off for her to bring it up now. You storm into Sester's office, mind clouded with anger. You're surprised to see Hamisi sitting at his desk instead, caught off guard by your unannounced entry. What's going on? Where is he? She gives you a significant look. Oh, mother damn it, not now. Is he alright? He worried himself sick when your signal went dead a few days ago. It's been a challenging few wises, and things haven't let up since the first bodies were found. We're getting strange reports, nothing worth taking off his case for yet. But it was all weighing on him a great deal. You know him. If anyone's hurting, he's hurting. He's been having an episode. It's one of the corporate's closest guard secrets. While he's capable of intense focus, working tirelessly for days at a time, Sestro is prone to burning out in spectacular fashion. For up to a wife at a time, Miffy has to take the heir's place when he can barely leave his cube. Some of your rage has already burned off as you remember the times he had to feed him. Now she handles that, along with cleaning up his mess. The public doesn't know what she does. Perhaps it's for the best. You adopt a gentler tone. Take me to him. Gentler tone. That was more aggressive. You're walking and talking now, passing through a hallway, both with nearly the same long, loping stride. Vitals? All within acceptable bounds. White blood cell count, good. Blood pressure a little high, but it is, as you know, not abnormal for him. Doesn't have a gift for it. How long has it been? Any recent periods? You get in an elevator. This is familiar. Of course, if you haven't finished the first half of the Act 2 intermission, it's not familiar. But still. Frick. Give me a second. This spilt stuff. Well, I wasn't gonna wear this shirt tomorrow anyway. Alright. Hamifi presses a touchstone to the print detector and pushes the button for the penthouse bedroom. In about hour 14, he had a few spells of lucidity. We put our set together, we ate dinner, and I got him in the recuperator and he slept just fine. He didn't think to call me? Oop, he's here. So their hive is like within the building, huh? Makes sense. I like this room. It's like space themed and pretty cool looking. Penguins, I think, or maybe owls. And then Bart. Fucking Bart. What is with Bart and Vast Air? Like, he's like everywhere behind the scenes. Like, if you look closely, there's a Bart. There's a Bart here, there's a Bart there. In this very serious moment that's happening, there's a Bart in the background, like over there. There's a freaking Bart sign. Like, what the hell? You'll have to explain this to me. You know who I'm talking about if you're listening. Because of course you're listening. Like, frick, I don't know how to explain that, but I got my point across. Hamifi shoots you an annoyed look as she holds open the elevator door to Sancho's respite block. One that communicates, I can handle this, Miss Iopara. You hope she can. She switches to a whisper and you can see why. The air is wrapped up in a blanket and slouched forward, sitting on that storage cube chair thing you never liked. I didn't think it necessary to interrupt your SCS. You could have died out there. Hamifi has moved behind Cesar and put a hand on his only slightly responsive shoulder while you continue your hushed conversation. You whisper back, glad to hear life is a new priority of the company. She looks taken aback. Oh dear God, you probably shouldn't have said that. Oh, what? Do you know what happened to Alina Robiat? She was kidnapped. Yes, by a group of smugglers. No, have only 5 members. Hamifi pauses. She whispers back. You've seen the full report then. Yes, they were a band of bootleggers. They sold the low-quality honey and sweeteners as part of their racket. Alina's superior apparel techniques were making better goods for cheaper, running them out of business. So they turned to crime. They demanded a ransom. Corporate policy to avoid paying large sums of money to criminals. I was physically restrained from intervening. And this company I've given everything to, they negotiated? The executive negotiated the price on my mate's life. He stayed my sword hand so he could ask them to knock off 30% like he was haggling for a shipment of concrete. Are you defending him? You can't believe you managed to keep whispering. You're barely keeping it together right now. Tears well up at the corners of your eyes. The finger you gesture with shakes. Hamifi has her guard up. You hate that. I didn't expect this kind of anger from you. You've never been sentimental. You taught me how not to be. You taught me how not to be. At that, you restrain yourself. That wasn't her fault. She wasn't even hatched at the time Alina was killed. Your tone softens. could have been sentimental. I was, for her. I taught you not to be? You were always so gentle with him. You picked up all the slack. It was clear I'd have to as well. Even now, this important thing, you want to go to him. Do you trust me? She's looking at Sister, who lays there glassy-eyed beneath a blanket, adorned with stars, hand on his shoulder. She looks closer to tears than you've seen her and sweeps. You told me not to trust anyone, but I do, Amici. She meets your gaze and the corner of her mouth twitches, just a little. You are never very good at following orders. The end. This is great. Wait, I just realized the end actually fades on screen. I don't remember if I realized that previously, but that's actually pretty cool. This whole thing is pretty cool. Thank you for watching. I'm too tired to even probably do an outro. This is like fairly long. Definitely more than 2 hours. I'm sorry.